Let me talk a bit about Boba Fett, namely rewriting the Book of Boba Fett. The Book of Boba Fett was the second live-action series to launch on Disney+. I'll start with a basic summary of the events of the series before moving on to how I would change things. There are 7 episodes in all, and some of them contain flashbacks. I say 7, but it feels more like 5, since one episode features the Mandalorian from the first Disney Plus live-action series, and large parts of the final 2 episodes feel more like Mandalorian episodes than Boba Fett episodes. Meant as guest stars, Din Djarin and Grogu carry as much or more weight than Boba Fett does, undermining the title character's progression somewhat. Anyway, Episode 1 shows Boba Fett's escape from the Sarlacc pit following the rescue of Han Solo in Return of the Jedi. Jawas steal his weapons and armor, and he is captured by Tusken Raiders. Jump to 5 years later, and Boba, for some reason, has made moves against the current operators of Jabba the Hutt's former criminal empire in Mos Espa. Jabba died 5 years earlier, at the same time that Boba went into the Sarlacc pit. There are some flashbacks to Boba's time with the Tusken Raiders, where he saved a Tusken child from a beast, earning their respect and elevating him from prisoner to guest. Episode 2 finds Boba getting more involved with the criminal empire, mostly against his wishes. Flashbacks to his time with the Tusken Raiders shows Boba learning their combat style and desert survival methods. After teaching his friends how to ride stolen speeder bikes, Boba and the Tuskens stop a spice train that is encroaching on Tusken lands, setting up a toll system for the train to be granted passage through those lands. Boba undergoes a spiritual ritual to make his own fighting stick and officially becomes a member of the tribe. It is unclear at this point how much time Boba has spent with the Tusken Raiders. In Episode 3, back in Mos Espa, Boba is approached to be a kind of peacekeeper and punish a gang of young cyborgs, but Boba enlists them as part of his crew and starts making efforts to change things around the city. He is attacked by a Wookiee, makes a deal with some Hutts, and edges closer to running the whole show. Flashbacks reveal that the Tusken tribe was wiped out by the people Boba stole the speeders from. Back in the present, the people Boba had imposed a toll on, the Pike Syndicate, enter the city and prepare for war. This ends what I found to be the most interesting part of the series, Boba's time with the Tusken Raiders. The events are clear and easy to follow. Boba was reduced to nothing, captured, and reforged into something new. Fans of Star Wars will recall how enigmatic Tusken culture is. As far as I know, no Tusken has ever been seen without their iconic headgear. What lies beneath? What kind of creatures are they? There was a very cool female Tusken warrior dressed all in black. She needed more scenes. It was interesting, then it was over, and they were all dead. The takeover of the criminal empire had no personal stakes for Boba Fett. Why should he care? He was a bounty hunter with a special beef against the Jedi for killing his father. He was in the employ of Jabba the Hutt, brought in Han Solo for a price, and worked as hired muscle. That was his life. I had no interest in the other so-called main plot line taking place in the present day. There were little islands of intriguing entertainment in those flashbacks, surrounded by a boring ocean of underworld hijinks. The creators went with the wrong storyline, in my opinion. Anyway, Episode 4 flashbacks show how Boba Fett became friends with another bounty hunter, Fennec Shand, who we met during The Mandalorian. She helped him retrieve his old ship and get revenge against the bikers who wiped out his Tusken Raider tribe and family. In the present, Boba recruits the Wookiee who had attacked him previously and tries to unite various elements in the city to resist the Pike Syndicate, but they refuse. Boba and his crew will fight them alone. And Fennec suggests hiring outside help. Episode 5 is about The Mandalorian. So I won't explain what happens. It has nothing to do with Boba Fett and should have been part of The Mandalorian Season 3. The only thing of importance to the events taking place in the Book of Boba Fett happen at the end when Fennec Shand arrives to hire help against the Pike Syndicate. Din Djarin agrees, but first, he has to do something. Episode 6 brings in Cobb Vanth, a marshal from another community who used to wear Boba Fett's armor and had dealings with Din Djarin before. Meanwhile, Din Djarin flies to a planet where Grogu is being trained in the ways of the Force by Luke Skywalker. Ahsoka Tano is there also. Seriously, if you haven't watched The Mandalorian, you would be totally lost. Where is Boba Fett? Does he even appear in this episode? Anyway, Din Djarin drops off some chainmail without seeing Grogu. Luke gives Grogu a choice. Take the armor and give up training with him, or take Yoda's old lightsaber and learn the ways of the Jedi. Again, where is Boba Fett? After Din Djarin leaves, Cad Bane appears. He is from some of the animated series, so if you haven't watched enough of those, it will make no sense. He is a hired gun working for the Pike Syndicate. He has a showdown with Vanth, and Vanth loses. Now we reach the end of the series. In episode 7, R2-D2 flies Grogu to Tatooine. He has chosen the armor and further adventures with his friend, the Mandalorian. Cad Bane and the Pike Syndicate square off against Fett and his assembled militia. Just when all hope seems lost, Grogu appears and a Deus Ex monster wreaks havoc on the bad guys. This is a Chekhov's monster, as it was foreshadowed in a very obvious way earlier in the series. The good guys win and eliminate the Pike Syndicate. Cad Bane reveals that it was the Pike Syndicate all along who wiped out Boba Fett's adopted tribe. The bikers were framed. Mwahahaha? I don't know. Boba dispatches Bane with his Tusken stick that he earned in that spiritual ritual. In the end, Din Djarin and Grogu fly off to be in The Mandalorian Season 3. Boba basks in the admiration of the citizens of Mos Espa. And Vanth is shown in recovery. He didn't die. The last 3 episodes either don't expand Boba Fett's story at all, or bury it in a slow-paced battle with a predictable end. Aside from a random hired gun who wanders in from the cartoons to somehow be Boba Fett's nemesis at the last minute. Who wrote this crap? I will not mention them, but they shouldn't be proud. Boba Fett was not developed as a character. We don't see him change during his all-too-brief time with the Tusken tribe. He has no motivation for trying to clean up Mos Espa, and by the end of it all, I still have no idea who he is as a person. All I am left with is fading thoughts of Boba Fett being cool. This series has scrubbed away all of the coolness. On top of that, no one should have to do so much homework to understand the last 3 episodes. We got a 4-episode series starring Boba Fett, a 2-episode prelude to The Mandalorian Season 3, and a boring finale, whose only highlight was Grogu. The end of the series set up Din Djarin and Grogu, and a marshal we didn't care about in the context of the Book of Boba Fett. What a disappointment! Here's how I would have done things. I'll try to be brief. Time for my rewrite. No so-called present day. There needs to be a recasting of the main character, someone of Maori heritage, around 40 years old, with a slender, athletic build. If Daniel Logan, who played young Boba in Attack of the Clones, is available, interested, and suitable, it might be nice to go with him. Of course, retrospectively, this casting would be a continuation of the same actor having been used in The Mandalorian Season 2. The title is simply Boba Fett. We don't need any pretentious Book of in the title. Using archive footage from Return of the Jedi, set reconstruction, and inventive editing, we see events from the film from Boba Fett's perspective. Leia's failed rescue of Han, Luke's arrival, the trip to the Sarlacc pit on the sail barge. This serves to establish Boba Fett as a character, get us used to the new actor portraying him, and refresh older viewers, and inform new viewers of what transpired at the beginning of Return of the Jedi. No homework needed. The final escape takes place, battle ensues, Jabba perishes, and Boba Fett falls into the Sarlacc pit unconscious. Later, he wakes up and frees himself using wrist-mounted flamethrowers, his rocket pack, any weapons at hand from Jabba's fallen guards. The Sarlacc is injured and withdraws deeper into the sand, covering itself to heal. Boba crawls away and passes out from the ordeal. Jawas find Boba, strip him of his armor, weapons, and technology, and leave him in the desert. Maybe they think he's dead, or maybe they don't care. So far, this plays out very similarly to the flashbacks in the original telling of the story in the Book of Boba Fett. Night falls. A group of Tusken Raiders investigating the commotion from earlier in the day when Luke rescued Han and Leia from Jabba come across Boba lying in the sand. As they poke and prod him, he comes to and tries to defend himself, but they club him on the head. Before he loses consciousness, he makes out only one word among the guttural noises the Tuskens make. Clone. Boba wakes up to someone forcing water down his throat. He takes in his surroundings. He is tied up in the Tusken camp, a prisoner. Upon noticing that he is awake, the guards fetch some kind of leader and a female Tusken warrior dressed all in black. She is carrying the head and torso of a protocol droid, perhaps an older model that we've never seen before in movies or TV series. The Tusken warrior drops the limbless droid in the sand in front of Boba. It introduces itself and is obviously not in good shape. The droid translates what the leader says, along with Boba's comments and questions. Boba belongs to the tribe now. He will be a worker, a beast of burden, doing labor around the camp in exchange for food, water, and shelter. He will be shackled hand and foot and must not try to escape. The only reason he is alive is because they have seen his face before. There were soldiers, accompanied by Jedi, long ago, who all had faces similar to his. There are still some around, but not as young-looking as Boba. The Jedi haven't been seen in a very long time, but there have been rumors of someone bearing a lightsaber in the vicinity of late. During the conversation/interrogation, Boba reveals what he knows. Jabba is dead. There was someone who claimed to be a Jedi. Boba admits to hunting Jedi survivors in the past, but hadn't seen any in years until the day before. He asks what happened to his armor, the weapons, and the Tusken warrior strikes him with her staff, saying that they have found him as he is now, helpless. They are not thieves. He will not be given a weapon, and if he tries to take one or tries to escape, she will kill him. The Tusken leader admonishes her, saying that she is not to kill him. They will travel, as they always do, and when they come across Jawas, they will try to trade Boba to the Jawas. The droid is translating everything as this goes on. The leader and the warrior then leave with the protocol droid. Boba feigns sleep and manages to get the drop on his guards, taking a club from one of them. He makes his way towards the edge of the camp, but is set upon by the Tusken warrior. They fight, but he is shackled, injured from his time in the Sarlacc, and unfamiliar with this style of fighting. Well, honestly speaking, she's just better than him and defeats him easily. Standing over Boba as the guards rush up, the warrior scolds them for their carelessness. Boba is dragged away as Episode 1 ends. Episode 2 takes place weeks later. Boba has settled in with the tribe. They are nomadic, traveling by foot and by bantha. They stay in one place to scavenge food and restock water before moving on. Boba is learning how the Tuskens survive in the desert. He is still shackled, and he carries the protocol droid on his back, both to serve as his translator and to encumber him to prevent him from further escape attempts. The droid will call out if Boba tries to escape or anything else. The children in the tribe have great curiosity about Boba, often coming near or trying to touch him. He's playful with them, but sometimes they're scolded away by the Tusken warrior. Through dialogue, we discover that Boba has tried to escape a couple of times since that first night, but has always been stopped by the same female Tusken warrior. He is not broken, but he is not being mistreated and has accepted his place. One day, while harvesting fruit that grows beneath the sand, the tribe suddenly goes on alert. They hunker down, cover the bantha with camouflage netting, and hide themselves in the sand. Several members rush off in various directions. Boba asks the droid what is happening, and the droid says, "Humans, settlers." When the members return, the tribe heads off very quietly in a different direction, making distance between themselves and the unseen presence of the humans that has bothered them so. That night, as the tribe shares a meal and prepares to sleep, the Tusken leader uses the droid to explain that his people once had many permanent settlements and would fight to preserve their lands from human encroachment. But the humans keep coming, and their numbers are becoming too great. Many tribes have been forced to wander, only stopping occasionally at large Tusken communities that still exist to share information and partake in their culture. Boba understands as something similar happened to the Mandalorians. They lost their homeworld and now wander the galaxy, often working as bounty hunters or guards. They have no home, and it is hard to maintain their heritage. The Tusken warrior watches silently, nodding. During the night, a beast burrows under the sand and takes one of the children, pulling it under the earth. Boba, sitting next to the deactivated droid, was still awake, thinking about what he had learned, and is the only one who notices this. He chases after the visible furrow in the ground, pursued by the warrior who thinks he is trying to escape again. She tackles him as he dives onto the furrow, pinning him to the ground. The creature rises up, knocking her back and causing her to drop her staff, now above ground. The child cries out, alerting the rest of the tribe. As the warrior wrestles with the creature, Boba picks up her staff and attacks the creature, wounding it and driving it off. Dropping the staff, Boba rushes to check that the child is okay. The warrior picks up her staff and moves toward Boba. Instead of striking him, she offers her arm and pulls him to his feet. The tribe has seen him save the child. The next day, the tribe is on the move again, as at the start of the episode. This time, Boba is not shackled. He's no longer a prisoner. Those are my ideas for the first 2 episodes. They roughly follow the events of the first flashbacks from the Book of Boba Fett. Boba escapes from the Sarlacc pit, has his identity stripped away through the loss of his armor and weapons, joins the tribe, first as a prisoner, and then as a true member after earning their respect. We learn much more about the Tuscans' people and culture in my version. And there are definite parallels to the plights of indigenous people in various parts of our world. Parts of this might seem cliche, but that's okay. It is not always the ideas, but the execution of them that makes a story work. I won't go through things episode by episode, but here is what we can expect to see if my series were to continue. The Tuscan tribe comes across moisture evaporators, which are used by settlers to collect water on this desert world. Some members of the tribe want to destroy them, but Boba knows how to make them inoperative by removing certain parts. These parts can then be traded to Jawas for items that might be of use to the tribe. This tactic becomes part of their routine and brings them some benefits, but it also raises suspicions of the settlers who wonder why certain components keep going missing. Through the tribe's dealings with Jawas, Boba learns of clones hiding on Tatooine. He gets vague clues about where they might be. Boba, considering himself a competent fighter from his long years as a bounty hunter, wants to know why the warrior beats him every time they train, even when she gives him her staff and she fights unarmed. She explained that while he uses weapons, she is a weapon. He has always relied on technology to aid him in combat, often striking from far away, from distance. Without his technology, he is not effective. She begins training him in the Tuscan fighting style, with and without a staff. He eventually gets his own staff, a gift from the family of the child he saved. Nothing spiritual needed, no ritual. An unexpected sandstorm hits the tribe during the night, and the members are scattered as they seek shelter. Boba, the warrior, and a young pregnant female are together. The droid is lost to the storm, but Boba can understand some of the Tuscan language by now. Communication is possible. Making their way through the desert, they have no supplies and need to find food, water, and shelter. They come across an abandoned home, and Boba is able to get some of the technology working again. They now have shelter and water. They spend a few weeks here as the young female can't move, and in time gives birth. One day, while the warrior is out finding food, Boba tends to the new mother and baby. He hears the boop, beep, boop of a droid. Boba grabs his staff as R2-D2 enters, followed by Luke Skywalker. This was Luke's childhood home, and he sometimes visits out of reverence for his dead aunt and uncle. There is tension, especially when the warrior returns. Staffs are brandished, and a lightsaber is drawn. But Luke stands down and says they're welcome to use his former home. Realizing that Boba knows who he is, Luke asks for his name. Boba replies, "I have no name now. You knew me as Boba Fett." Luke ponders this with a frown, but his features soften, and he only says, "We all find who we were meant to be in the end." He then, with R2-D2, takes his leave. More time passes, and the small group knows it should move on. They are too close to a human settlement and have pressed their luck long enough. Realizing that it would be problematic to go to a Tuscan community due to Boba being human and not having a protocol droid to translate for them, Boba convinces the others to travel to the location where the clones are hiding. They reach the area and look around, seeing nothing, but are discovered by the clones who have been watching them approach. Upon seeing their own younger face, and upon seeing the more aged face his father wore, It is a strange type of reunion, even though they're meeting for the first time. The group is taken in by the clones, and they share their stories. The clones were abandoned after being forced to betray their Jedi masters. Many of them broke their programming out of shock at what they had been forced to do and went into hiding. The clones tell us of spice runners who use Tuskens as laborers, and it sounds like Boba's old tribe is being used as such. With the clones' help, Boba and the warrior defeat the spice runners, free the remnants of the tribe, and recover the now repaired protocol droid. The clones are all played by Temuera Morrison. Just so you know, he's not left out of this. The series ends perhaps 1 or 2 years after the events of the first episode. Boba has a new family and a new purpose, not driven by avenging the death of his father and not supported by killing for money. What will happen to this new Boba Fett? And how will circumstances lead to him meeting the Mandalorian? Come back for season 2. That is how I would have written it. Expand the lore around the Tusken society. Establish who Boba was and let him grow and change into something new. Give him stakes and motivations that are personal. Sparingly use legacy characters in ways that make sense. If you like my ideas, let me know. If you hate my ideas, let me know too. Any comments are welcome, so please leave them. I know it doesn't matter now since the Book of Boba Fett is done and most likely will never be revisited. It's just that my mind likes to understand why something failed, and I can't help but think of ways to fix it. This is what I came up with. Thanks for watching. See you next time.